before we go, I just wanted to say a few words by a man who was a professor of mine and who I am bold enough to call a friend, Frank Galati, who has died yesterday. He was an amazing teacher, an inspirational figure for those of us who were lucky enough to have worked with him at all, and a brilliant director. And he taught me things in the short period of time that I knew him that changed my life, changed the way I approached my work and what I wanted out of my professional and artistic life, and really gave me the confidence to think of myself as an artist for the very first time. And I'll always be grateful to him for the generosity of his spirit. And there are so many things that I learned from him and so many things I think about in terms of being a performer and what it is required to be a performer and what that calling means. And I recently had a conversation with John Lithgow about Frank just during the commercial break. Our cameras are always rolling. When I heard that Frank had passed, I just wanted to play for you some of the things that I learned from Frank and his example. Jim? Did you know Frank Galati at all? Do you know who he was?
I never met him. I saw a lot of his great productions.
Frank was a teacher and eventually a friend
at
Northwestern.
Yeah.
And he told that story. He said, the Balanchine story is what I heard from him, is that he was telling a class one day and complimenting us by saying, you know, those of us in the theater, and we were all just students, he was like, those of us in the theater, he goes, you know, we make light of the fact that some people who aren't in the theater come backstage and they say, oh, how do you remember all those lines? And he said, how do you remember all those lines? Let's not take for granted that there's something magical about that. You've changed something in yourself. People don't sit down and memorize 2 hours of text. You did. Why did you do that? And how did you do that? And he goes, what are you when you go on stage? What is that other thing that you're becoming? How are you presenting yourself to the audience? What are you willing to become to be this person who wants to present ideas and emotions to an audience? How do you become beautiful? And that the beauty of the world we see all around us. And when you go on stage, you answer the accusation of the world, which is that you are hiding your beauty. The beauty of the world accuses you of hiding your beauty. But when you go on stage, whatever you are, whatever part of humanity you are just as much a part of the world that you find beautiful. And therefore, when you're on stage, you're as beautiful as any statue, you're as beautiful as any sunset. And will you allow people to see you beautifully? And then he tells that story of Balanchine saying, raise your leg. No, raise it beautifully. And it meant something to that ballerina, and she did raise it beautifully. And that's stuck with me. How do you now do it? Wonderful. Now, can you do it beautifully? And that doesn't mean gently or lovely. It means beautifully, no matter what you're portraying. Thank you, Frank.